Well, there are a couple encouraging things I saw in Haitians while we were there. The first is a young pastor named Patrico, who Mission Haiti has resourced and funded to allow him to devote all of his time to ministry.
Really?
And he's a young man, just a bit older than me, and he is going out and building his youth group. He's going out and preaching in town, and also just assisting with local community efforts. And he's able to do that full time because of the
Okay.
ministry. And I am encouraged by that because I think that's a model that can grow, and we can here in America we can help resource so that more of these pastors can be mentored and educated and resourced. And so I think that's something that I was very encouraged by, and I hope that that's something that we can continue to do more. The second thing I saw is specifically in the youth group, there was a couple guys. One of the guys' name was Emmanuel, and he's my age, actually, just a couple of years younger than me, and just really on fire for God. God has done some amazing things in his life, and he is still living with his family, but he's going to college and is considering possibly the ministry once he gets through school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was very excited about that and encouraged him to keep pursuing that. And then the third thing that I saw was another guy. His name was Robinson, and he was nearly killed by cholera, actually just last year. And he shared his story with us about his brush with death and,
Wow.
and how God has worked in his life. And so those are stories that I
Mhm.
think we should pray for more of.
Right. So in a week, you saw three different stories.
Yeah.
So who knows and who can imagine what's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these young men are still coming on to their own as far as their calling and purpose. And I think in a few years they may be the ambassadors that we are praying for
Right.
to go out to Haiti.
Okay.
So that was very exciting for me.
That is.
Well, the first thing it did was humble me in a new way because, first of all, I felt very inadequate because I didn't know how to help these people. Even though I'm a rich American, my personal financial means were dwarfed by the need of the country, and so I felt incapable of helping them economically in any meaningful way. And also, I didn't feel I could communicate with them very well because I didn't know their language and their culture. And also because I didn't feel like I could relate to them very well. And anything I said of, like, I hope life gets better for you, would sort of come across as ridiculous and arrogant, probably. And so I didn't feel like I could really, empathize with them because I hadn't experienced that. So that was hard for me. So what God grew out of that is just a realization that I am a tool that God is using, that I am not bringing God to Haiti. God is already working in Haiti, and that our role as Americans is to pray for these people and to resource these people there, because that is what faith is realizing that we're not going to change Haiti, and God is going to change Haiti. But at the same time, I realized that by my presence there's a couple of guys that came up to me saying how encouraging it was that I came down there and ministered to them. And so I was also awed by the fact that God doesn't need us to have this resource set and this plan to do his work. He needs us to show up and minister through what he has given us. And he will use that in spite of us, not because of us.
Right.
And our heart is what he wants, and our service is what he wants. He doesn't need us to figure it out for him.
Yeah.
He will do what he wants to do.
So you're not a pastor. You're not in full-time ministry. You're not on staff anywhere at a church. I mean, you're very involved at Central Valley right now, and have always been involved in a church and always will be, I imagine. But you're not professional, if I can even use that term for ministry. But you're not a vocational minister. So what? Why is that not an excuse for you to not go on a mission trip? Like, why is not being in full-time ministry not an adequate, legitimate excuse for avoiding missions?
Well, I think because Matthew 28 doesn't say, go those of you who are ordained and preach the gospel to all nations. It says, go and preach the gospel to all nations. And it doesn't give a lot of excuses to anyone for bailing on the Great Commission. And so if it's the Great Commission, the most important commission we have, we cannot require and expect our full-time staff to do our work for us. It is the responsibility of every Christian to go and do this. And it is, I think, imperative for the health of every Christian to do this. It pushes you to grow. And so it's good for you, but it also is going to change other people's lives in ways that you don't know until you actually go and do it. Yeah. And that is the essence of missions, is having a faith to realize that you don't know what you don't know, but God has instructed all of us and has promised to use us in the state we're at.
Right. And I think that's the encouraging thing. I think a lot of times you hear people talk about and encourage people to go on missions. Like the inside joke is always how everybody, whenever they hear a missionary speak, can write their sermon before they hear it. You know, because it's basically go, and if you don't go, consider sending, and if you don't send, at least pray for us. You know, those tends to be the 3 points. Yep. Go, send, or pray. And I think essentially what those messages a lot of the times come down to is guilt. You know, that we're not going, and therefore we should feel guilty that we're not going, which we should. And therefore we tend to guilt people into going on mission trips. But what you're saying that's encouraging is you're saying that Christ is part of the Great Commission, is Christ goes with us, that he's with us to the end of the age, and so he's with us where we go, and we serve in his strength, not our own, and we serve because he deserves to be worshipped by those who we go to. And this isn't about improving their quality of life. It's not even about putting a check in the box next to our Christian duties that say go on a mission trip. This is about the people in Haiti worshiping the one who deserves to be worshipped above all things. And so that's way more encouraging than anything else, I think. So.
Yeah, and I think too, the point of this is not that we all need to go to Haiti, or even that we all need to go to a third world or even another country. The point of this is that we all are called to fulfill the Great Commission. I was convinced, and am still convinced, that God wanted me to fulfill the Great Commission by going to Haiti. He put a girl in my life who was passionate about Haiti, and I realized that this was God's way of pushing me into this way of fulfilling his Great Commission. Yeah. But the point of this is to encourage you to fulfill the Great Commission in a way that God has led you. Don't believe that you're somehow exempt from that Great Commission. Right. You need to find a way that you can do this, because you will be unhealthy, and you're robbing yourself and the people you're ministering to of the joy of service. It really is. You know, when you're doing it, it's hard and it's not fun, and you're sweating and you're in the muck. But when you get done with it, you gain the perspective of what you just experienced. And God doesn't tell us to do the Great Commission because it's going to make us miserable. He instructs us to do this because it's how he's designed us, and it will bring us fulfillment, not in the sense of you get the warm fuzzies, but in the way that you were designed to, which is to grow in your faith. And that's what this